I was saying my name's Victor Bartwing from Sunday Standard newspaper. I have two questions to ask. First, the timelines. I understand this is an MOU, not an MOA. So are we going to move to that phase at some point? If you could address that. And then secondly, with particular interest on Morupule B, we know that it's been going through some remedial work that is being carried by the existing contractor. What's going to happen with that? Is this program going to concurrently run with it, or we are going to see a halt to the ongoing work? Thank you.
Two more questions and then give Mr. President a chance to answer.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. My name's Paishal Sagale from BTV. I have very pertinent questions that are really pointed to what you have just mentioned. One, BERA at one point had introduced rooftop solar program, which would have seen Botswana being industry players in producing power. How does this program get to involve Botswana in making sure that they become industry players? Two, Stake IP, the company that is already at Morupule B, which at some point had taken government and the contractor there to court over their intellectual property. How will this partnership work around that IPs and see to it that maybe we don't go back to court again? The third one is the 162 billion that was recently signed over or maybe introduced to the nation. How will it be part of this, and if it will be, what are the conditions and the terms and conditions of the contract if they are going to be part of this, the financiers? The last one, Mr. President, is quite often we hear you unleash in the country, your nation, about not doing right or maybe questioning things that are not, like they're not questioning it the right way. My concern, and maybe that which could be of every Motswana, would be so that we get to align ourselves to your vision. How is it that we may take the leadership to account or maybe to task and maybe get to help us align ourselves with the way we need to be driving the vision or supporting the vision, so that we don't get to continually be like Stanley addressing us as a nation. Thank you very much.
Any other question? There's a gentleman down here.
Good afternoon. My name is Tuto Galizio from Botswana Television. Your Excellency, we welcome that admonishment that you threw to us as the fourth estate, the media. It therefore shows that our relationship is not an adversarial one. If I were to, this was to be my genesis, the genesis of my submission, as it were. During this trip, which to the Middle East, also to the Europe, Switzerland, what I noticed was the conspicuous absence of maybe strategic ministries, i.e. the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Trade. And I stand to be corrected, Your Excellency. And I'm also concerned by the seemingly the blackout, because I only got to see on state media that you are living on this trade-oriented trip. Maybe I'm being too rigid, but and there's nothing wrong with deviating from the normal, from the norm. During your 10-day visit, we're not really appraised. State media, I tried to check on Botswana Television as to how you were progressing on this three-nation tour. There was not a lot of information coming through. Even today, I was taken by surprise that there's going to be a press conference. But my submission at the end is that I thank you for the admonishment, and I do hope that you will take the reverse from us as the fourth estate, as the mouthpiece of the citizenry in terms of how this whole trade-oriented trip went about. Thank you very much, sir.
At this point in time, Mr. President, you can answer
Very
this.
much. Timelines in relation to the memorandum of understanding. The due diligence has begun. The due diligence entails being availed access to data, all the data. That will enable, as I said, appropriate solutions and appropriate technologies to be considered and marshaled for deployment. And so the due diligence, an estimate said the due diligence would take 4 months. But with a qualification, which is this: the data that is required is readily available, and access has been instantly availed. With the amount of data that is available, it should therefore be within the pale of reason to expect that the due diligence phase will take much shorter. Anything from a month and a half, 2 months, the due diligence would be done, and solid solutions will then be ready for deployment. Murupule B, you know that it has become a swan song, hasn't it? Billions have gone down the drain there. And it's now been 6 years of remedial action, remedial works being carried out. At a certain point, a line gets drawn in the sand and you say, we can't be remedying all our lives. At a certain point, the remedying must stop. And the remedies must have worked. And if we continue to experience the same problems, I don't know what intellectual property anybody is talking about. But with or without anybody's IP, the line can be drawn in the sand. And so all the rights of the Botswana government in relation to these matters are fully reserved. And I speak as a lawyer now. Put aside the presidential garb, take my gladiatorial garb and say, at a certain point we put an end and we take action, some of it drastic, in defense of the interests of the country. So there shouldn't be any problem in relation to that. BTV, Bearer Rooftop Program. Solutions in relation to the provision of power. And the statistics say access is about 76% of the country. So we have a 24% of the population that has absolutely no access. And so this rooftop approach in power generation was to address in the main that bracket that has absolutely no access. And you deploy solutions that are appropriately tailored for them. And so there is a multiplicity of approaches here. One is the permission of microgrids, which will service certain localities and enable where the power generated in that space exceeds the needs, then for that power to be fed into the grid. And that also involves some infrastructure that will take up that power. That's a program that is ongoing. In fact, the minister is seized with, and she's in the process of raising participants by way of availing financial resources to address exactly this problem. She's advanced in that direction. And so sometimes we are reluctant to share prematurely, lest we be accused of talking without doing. So sometimes we wait until it is done. And in many instances, we may not even talk. You will see things deployed and you will talk. And it is only after you've talked that we will respond and clarify. Because this year and the next are about implementation, delivery, nothing else. So the rooftop program is on. The minister is on it. She's lined up some investors and sponsors for that particular program. And in liaison with BERA and others, she will, at the right time, make announcements, or you will see action. I always remind myself of what Anton Chekhov says. Says, don't tell me the moon is shining. Show me a glint of light on broken glass. The minister will show some glint of light on broken glass and will not tell you the moon is shining. You will tell her it is shining. That's how we want to do things. 162 billion. Let's understand this clearly in this manner so that we don't confuse ourselves and in turn confound and confuse the populace. When an investor comes and says, I have $12 billion to invest in your country, are you interested? You have a judgment call to make at that point. Do you express interest or do you say no? You express, you check, you do your preliminary assessment and you say, these are credible. Yes, let's sign so that we start talks now to concretize where your investments will be deployed in a commercially viable way. They are not coming here to donate 12 billion. Business people don't do that. No investor will come here and they are not running charities. They invest. So when they say we have 12 billion to deploy, you must curate projects into which you direct them and channel the investment there. And that is also preceded by due diligence, feasibilities, and all the processes that have to follow. So what this says is we have an opportunity to harness foreign direct investment to the tune of $12 billion. There are certain things we have to do so that this amount of money can then be deployed into investments. It's not a loan to the country. It's not a donation to the country. It is investment, ready, available to be deployed, provided the right conditions are met, which are proper due diligence, assurance of return on investment, and others, some of which are already in place. One of the things that investors want to see is credibility and reliability of the entire ecosystem. No investor wants to put their money, their investment in a place that is unsafe, that is unpredictable, that is lacking in any credibility. Botswana so far ranks very highly in those regards, which is why investors are willing to come here. We need now to do the next, which is when they do come, let's not waste their time and hours and keep them waiting, tossing them from this place and that place. And that is why the Botswana Economic Transformation Program seeks to enable an investor to come in today and indicate what project they want to invest in. And at the best, when it is operating fully and optimally, the BETP will then summon everybody who is required and is implicated in relation to this project to one place, so that when they finish there, they have a decision either favorable or unfavorable. And if it is favorable, then the investor can start the next day. This is what Egypt is doing, by the way. On the African continent, the highest inflows of foreign direct investment go to Egypt. Why? Because Egypt doesn't waste time. You come in as an investor, they assess you on the trot, you are credible, you are solid. 3 days you are on the roll, you are rolling. That's why the investors are interested. They can't park their money and wait for you to go to land board and go to this place and go to deeds registry. Investors don't work like that. They'll take their money elsewhere because you have demonstrated lack of seriousness. So in relation to the 162 billion, this is the situation. The trips, here's what I have realized. If I may be candid with you. I've seen and I've challenged public officers, advised them gently. Sometimes I suspect they were dealing with very difficult people in the past. Because public officers will write you a very elaborate report, summarize everything brilliantly, give it to you, and then they'll come to you and brief you on the same document that they have given to you. And I always ask them, why are you here? And they say, to brief you. I said, brief me on what? On this? I said, no. I tell them, no, I've read. Whatever you tell me must not be what you've put down here. I have read and I've understood. If I have questions, I will ask. If I don't ask, I will go and research myself. You don't need to come and brief me. You've briefed me already by writing. I read. That's why I don't sleep. I read these documents, mountains of them. I read them. I read them thoroughly and I understand them. So that whoever comes to me, don't care who you are a seasoned economist, you're a financial, whatever you are, my wits about me. I'm not daft. I will understand. I have understood from the document. If I have queries, I'll ask. So, when I travel, I trim down the team. I don't want to take the minister, take her away from her core responsibilities, balloon the size of the delegation unnecessarily. Why? Because when I walk around, somebody must be holding my files and my briefcase and must always be whispering to me because I haven't read and I don't understand. I'm not like that. I advise myself because I've read the documents and I can engage meaningfully with whoever. So I don't need a whole delegation. I can go alone, actually, by the way. I'm enough. By myself. Otherwise, I would not be a worthy representative of the bar of Botswana. As an advocate of this, when a foreign jurisdiction wants a legal opinion on any aspect of the law in Botswana, the law itself says you seek the opinion of an advocate in that jurisdiction. If I can render those opinions to foreign countries, I cannot go alone and engage. That would be a terrible vote of no confidence on not just myself, but the legal profession that raised me. So when I travel, I look at the size of, and they know I cut it down. I need myself. I need somebody who will tell me, these are the meetings, this is the place where the meeting is. Ordinarily, I would do that myself, but they insist you must have somebody chaperoning you. You can't run away from some of these. But other than that, the Minister of International Relations has a lot on his plate. There are crises all over the place. And I have to take him because I'm going to discuss investments in Oman, investments in Ras Al Khaimah, investments in Switzerland. I have to be carrying a whole battalion and government doesn't work because it will be said, now you're operating away from. No. I am the chief diplomat of this republic. The foremost, most eloquent spokesperson of this republic is its president. And so when I step out there, brother, I step out in the service of this republic. And when I do so, I leave my all there. That's me. That's how we all must be. Every one of us. You don't need to be chaperoned. You don't need to be... No. You must know your stuff. You must read. You must inform yourself. Information is readily available in this day and age. So sometimes it is nice, it is prestigious to have 20 people around you. No. Where we are, you need a very small delegation of people who are absolutely essential. When I went, I had a Geoscience Institute. I had a few. I had Botswana Development Corporation. Absolutely necessary for the conversations that I was going to have there. And from Oman, with the Omani Investment Authority, on the 26th of November, the head of the Omani Investment Authority will be here to do something pretty much like what we are doing. Projects, delivery. Anton Chekhov, don't tell me the moon is shining. Show me some glint of light on broken glass. That's what I'm showing now. Glint of light. Size of delegation, not important. Have you communicated with the Minister of International Relations? Yes. Sometimes I have to communicate with myself only. That's what the Constitution says. The President can act on his own advice. When he does, allow him. The Constitution has given him that power. There's no problem with it. If you have a problem with it, you change the Constitution. I follow it to the letter and its spirit. But I also save the country a lot of money in the process. That's how we do these things. And so, trade, for, international relations, where they are required, you will see them. Where there's no way of excluding them, even if we wanted to trim down the size of the delegation, they will be there. But where we can do without many of these, we will, and save the country some money. And then the issue of engaging with the media. You see, I have a weakness, really, let me confess to you. And I think it's a normal weakness for every human being. You need to behave to be taken seriously in a manner that shows you yourself take yourself seriously. You see, if all that you are writing is negativity, it is uninformed, it is speculative fabrications, divorced, destitute of even the slightest ounce of truth, then you make it very difficult for anybody to take you seriously, much less myself. I have a difficulty first with listening to a person who has no substance, who doesn't make sense. I find it very difficult. It's like torture. I have an even more serious problem with reading stuff that is not well written. And many of the pieces that you write in your newspapers are badly written. Even the grammar is bad. I'm telling you, I must be honest with you folks. And then, everything is devoid of truth. Do you take yourself seriously as a professional, if that's what you do? Do you deserve then to be taken seriously? I would rather go to the bus rank and listen to those folks there. They make more sense than some of the stuff that you write. Oh, the vice president and the president are fighting. Where were they fighting? How far were you? Oh, this one is about to be removed. Where do you get all these things, folks? Where do you get these things? And you peddle them with such zeal. And investors read these things, and they might also be put off. This is not a serious country. If the president is fighting with the vice president, there's nothing like that. Absolutely So, all I ask of you is to be taken seriously, and I'm dying, I'm yearning to take you seriously. I want to engage with you folks, but make it worth my while. I have so much to do. As I said, people are catching hell. I can't be spending time talking to people who are bereft of even the most basic understanding of issues. No, that is not something that I'm willing to do. But if you come and you probe, you engage, you admonish, I'm happy. I love these engagements. I'll make time even in the middle of the night for you if that's how you operate. But make it justifiable. That's all I ask, and I'm sure that's all everybody asks. And that is why the discourse now on social media, you see the level of pedestrianism, all the speculations, that's so pathetic. And much of it actually defamatory. That you ask, why are we wasting our time on this? Let's focus on serious issues. So the press, I'm urging you to be more serious, robust. And these days, information is readily available. There's nothing to hide. Eh? Don't just write and speculate. Check. What is the data? And it's available. We will avail it to you. You want to know where the president was? I'll tell you. Who I met, I might tell you. Provided you will not go and behind the scenes and go and insult the people, which is what you try and do most of the time. So the negativity is, the toxicity is actually off-putting. So I urge you humbly, please inform yourselves, establish the facts. 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 Understand the space that you are writing about, and then write. That's it. So, the press is free. Sometimes we keep things from you because you might just tell the wrong people and sabotage the efforts. We are competing with others in this space of investment. Sometimes we go stealthily, cut a deal, announce it publicly so that we commit those we've cut it with, and others can see. And you know what that does actually? I have realized. Others come running. Say, oh, okay, the Qataris are coming, the Omanis are here. This massive consortium, there must be something in that country. It helps. Who are the beneficiaries? The country. This is what it's about. And that's how these things work, Bakarun. So thank you very, very much for the engagement. And the requirement is that we must always be informed on any subject, whether it's diamonds, it's rooftop this, it's that, everything. We must always be fully informed around the clock. That applies to you too, not just to me. So when I spend sleepless nights informing myself, I expect you to do the same, so that when we engage, we are almost on the same wavelength. Then we have some beautiful engagement, and the people watching will be very happy and say, this press in Botswana is super. That's what I want. I want excellence. Thank you very much, and I thank you.